Hello, everybody. What's up with karma? Oh, I don't know. Listening to Kanye West. Fucking zippin'. Scoopy-dee-whoop. Is he a targeted individual? I think so. He's fucking hot. Okay, so let's see. I got a bit of stuff to do. We have some things to discuss. Okay, but first, I have to take a shit. I'm sorry, I don't want to say that. I don't know, it's just suddenly I got out of bed. I've been in bed all day playing video games. I've been in bed all day playing video games. And I'm pretty excited because I have more acid. I'm gonna do acid soon. I look forward to it a little too much. It's a little sad how much I look forward to it. So anyway, yesterday I made a big transition in my relationship with Dance Girl. And now you could say that I'm not even with Dance Girl anyway. She's gone anyway. But this was the biggest transition I've ever made in my life. I have a lot of feelings for Dance Girl. I basically want to possess her and to keep her locked in a dog crate and own her. And for me to say I am polyamorous, that opens up the dog cage, lets her go free. And who knows if anyone else even likes me. I think they do. Okay, I think, I kind of leaned into that. I said, even if Dance Girl dumps you, you got Blonde Girl and you got the fourth. But I said, you technically you don't know that. And for a variety of reasons. But so today I woke up, I was very scared to see what's going to happen. Am I going to get any I love yous from anyone? I got some hate today. I didn't really get anything positive except for one thing that may have been positive, but who even knows? Which was a red Honda Civic, a cherry red Honda Civic. And just by itself, and even when Dance Girl has hated me, there were some of those that would drive by. So I felt that this is a transition that your dad would be proud of. This is a transition that Osho would be proud of. Perhaps. Osho could say probably a lot of things. I don't really know what he would say. But I know certainly your dad would say, go ahead and do it this way, because this is the better way. And, I feel like it is the better way. And so I made an emotional change by doing this, where I felt like there are no kings, there are no queens, no one's special, no one's above anyone else. And I felt much better about it. I felt like this is a sane way to live. This is a much saner way to live. And of course it makes you angry. You go, well, then they can just go out and have all the sex they want and I'm stuck here by myself. Well, yeah, maybe. But you might end up living with, your dream is to live with multiple girlfriends. You might end up doing that. So, that's the most you could ever hope for. That's like your dream life. And, so hope for that. Hope, and, keep your socks. Yeah, I'm going to keep my new socks. And, do your water fasting and get healthy and switch over to oxytocin. Okay, go for a bike ride, see if you get any I love yous from anyone, and start treating that as real. You know, a part of me was feeling like the gay brother in that show with Tom Hardy, where he's twins and he plays both characters. And part of me was saying, you actually have 3 girlfriends now, just so you know. And you never even saw it. You were like, you actually never even saw it. And so take a bow. Not only do you have 3 girlfriends, it's not like that. It's not like, oh, I'm a real man, I got 3 girlfriends. It's not like that. You have girls you love. You have the ones you want. That's even better. That's like, these girls are special to you. And, you know, obviously, but, you know, it's not just anybody. It's not just like, you know, you just go pick out, oh, that one, I like that one and that one and that one. It's not like that. Like, these are people you love. And so, you know, you love them physically and you love them, their personalities. And so fucking, this is really good news. You know, this is really good news. I had a love jack to this. I jacked off to love. I thought, okay, yeah. And I was getting their superpowers. They have superpowers. And, you know, I was like, I needed this. This is giving me things on the spirit level that I actually really needed. And I was actually cut off from the spirit because I had abandoned some of them. And now I've made it right. And I even felt like I had abandoned Dance Girl by abandoning the other ones. Because it's like the 3 Musketeers, all for one and one for all. And it's nothing to do with the number 3. It's just saying, you know, because there are more than just the 3 of them, but, you know, there are pending situations with other ones. But at least those 3 are to abandon 2 of them for Dance Girl shows Dance Girl that I would abandon her too. And it's kind of like that other scene with Tom Hardy where he's a leader of a bike gang, and he says to his friends, to this guy, actually, he's not his friend. This guy, he says, I want to join your gang. And he says, okay, you can join, but you have to leave your friends behind. And he goes, okay. And then he goes, no, you can't join because you just left your friends behind. I just asked to see if you're loyal, and you're not even loyal. And that's how I felt with abandoning the 4th and Blonde Girl. I felt like, you know, you're really fucked up here for doing this. Okay, you should feel really embarrassed about doing this. And I was like, oh, but they're not really that loyal, and they didn't, you know, they don't really deserve it and all this stuff. But really, the real reason was because I just couldn't stand the idea of Dance Girl being with someone else. I just couldn't fucking stand it. And I was like, I need Dance Girl all for myself. And we're going to be married, and we're going to go live our life together, and it's going to be beautiful. And but I had this dream. I had dreamt of Dance Girl before I met her, and that I was going to be with this skinny girl, and we were going to be married, and there was going to be something kind of pathetic about it, that we'd go around looking for threesomes, but it would be kind of desperate. And the desperate factor was that we both were very possessive of each other, and therefore it put people in a lower position than us. That we'd say, we'll have a threesome with you, but we love each other and we don't really love you, and we're just using you for our sexual needs. and it's really hot, and you should be so lucky to be with us. And people were like, yeah, you guys aren't really that cool. No thanks. But we were like, yes, we are, but just no one's good enough for us. That was kind of, I had this dream about being with this archetype of girl, and we were going to be together, but it wasn't going to be all that it seemed. It was going to be like, the honeymoon lasts 2 years. Statistically, the honeymoon lasts 2 years. You're really happy for the first 2 years. And then afterwards, you're not really happy anymore. And you go back to however you were before. And it was going to be one of those where it's kind of like, oh, I'm so happy that I have you. And then afterwards, it's like, actually, I'm really afraid of losing you. But I'm not actually happy I have you. I'm just really terrified of losing you. Kind of like a drug. The drug makes you really happy. And then later on, it doesn't make you happy. But to not have it makes you really sad. And it slowly teeters towards that level. And I thought, I wonder, because I thought it was about Sub-Zero, but I thought, I wonder if it was Dance Girl I was dreaming about. And so then today, I was feeling much better. I went to sleep last night and I was thinking about different things that Dance Girl has said to me, that she was with this guy and blah, blah, blah. And like the one wearing the blue hat, who I imagine was Shark Eyes, and for how long that was going on. And I was feeling really angry, and I was like, you don't have to feel that anymore. I was like, you're done. You're done in that zone. That doesn't mean anything anymore. And I was like, yeah, but even when we were supposed to be exclusive, she was, and I was starting to get fucking, I guess, angry or hurt. Like, how dare she? I was starting to get righteous. And I was like, you're on a higher level than that now. You're on a far higher level than that. And you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that. That doesn't have anything to do with you anymore. All you need from her is that she still loves you. And if you don't have it, that's also better than being a possessive hoarder. Like being worried about what she's doing and who she's screwing and all that stuff. And does she like me? Does she like me not? It's better to, even if she's dumped you, it's better that you're not in that mode anymore. You switched modes. And you had switched modes fake method, intellectual method. Okay, when you first met your dad, he was like, monogamy is, and he knocks on his head audibly loud. He says, people don't understand because they're stupid. That jealousy is stupid. It doesn't mean your girlfriend doesn't love you if she has sex with someone else. They literally don't understand because they're stupid. And, I thought, well, I'm not stupid, but I really didn't understand. And so I had, Din Venom's ex-pig, who I wanted to possess very badly. And, I had another girlfriend who I'd see once in a while. And, and then, like, fucking, but I didn't even, for example, there was this other girl named Scorpion Magnolia, and, I never slept with her until after I broke up with Din Venom's ex-pig. But when Scorpion Magnolia was over, I was like, I can't sleep with you because my girlfriend's gonna freak. And yes, we're in an open relationship, but we're kind of in a complicated time right now. We're fighting because she cheated on me, and, I don't want to mess things up by, something to that effect. But my other, I mean, and this sounds like I'm bragging, okay? And maybe I am. But if you saw, I wasn't really much into my other girlfriend. and nor was I into Scorpion Magnolia that much. I mean, they both had their fucking perks, but I loved them as people. But Scorpion Magnolia turned out to be a bit of a jerk. She was a bit full of herself. And she was really hard too. She had a Belgian Malinois dog or something, one of those. It's like the equivalent of a pit bull. It's like a super German Shepherd. And those dogs are really something. And, I wasn't afraid of her dog for some reason, because normally I'm afraid of German Shepherds. The only kind of dog I'm afraid of is a German Shepherd. But this dog I wasn't afraid of for some reason. I was like, this is like a really on the ball dog. And, she was just, I don't know, she was too much. She asked me for a ride home, for a ride to work or something, like as if I owed it to her. And, she had inverted ass, inverted hips. And she'd say, sometimes I just go out to watch girls with big butts just to dream of what it would be like. And I said, yeah, I know. She understood me, because I would look at people with big skulls and I'd say I have a fucking micro skull. And I couldn't imagine what it'd be like if I had a big skull. And, her mom had abandoned her when she was 12. Her mom just up and left. I said, well, you're pretty much, your personality's formed. You didn't really need her after that. But, I felt kind of bad for her too. I mean, when I was 12, I pretty much did need my family. I felt actually pretty bad for her. I didn't say that out loud, any of that stuff. I didn't say any of that stuff out loud. But she said she doesn't even know where her mom is. She just left. She just abandoned her. And this girl is like really smart, and she worked at a cheese factory of all places. And then she went to university, and now she's a nurse. And I was telling her, don't intubate people to death. Intubations are portable gas chambers. She says this is very arrogant, And I did some puppetry of the penis for her. But anyways, so, I did like a whole skit, like, where I talked in a certain voice that it was as if my penis was talking, because I like to put on theatrical shows for people. I would have liked to get some googly eyes for it. But, so technically we were in an open relationship, and my mom did Venom's ex-pig, and my mom always said, why are you guys fighting about cheating? You guys are in an open relationship. What does it even matter? But only technically, but really, we were both extremely possessive of each other. And, it never sat right with me. And with someone like Sub-Zero, she was like, you can live with me and I'll pay for your rent, but you can't sleep with other guys. And but you can't sleep with other girls. But I was like, you can sleep with other guys. I was like, I don't care if you sleep with other guys. And because, I don't know why, really. I want to say it's because her butt wasn't that big. And, but she was very pretty. And she had bad posture. She had scoliosis. She said, I had years of self-esteem issues. She said, I don't talk to my dad, and I hope he dies of skin cancer. And, my mom will call him on Christmas sometimes and put him on the phone. I'm like, I don't want to fucking talk to him. And he still lives in Germany, and he's really into the whole Nazi thing. And I fucking hate him. I hope he dies of skin cancer. And my whole self-esteem is destroyed, and I have low self-esteem. So I hunch over, and that's why I have scoliosis. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. She has good enough skin. She has big tits, but I'm not, tits are neither here nor there to me. And she has a bubble butt, but she doesn't have wide hips. And so she's hot enough, really. She's hot enough. I still licked her butthole. And, I don't really know what it was, but I never wanted to possess her. Dance girl, I wanted to possess. Okay, so it's not the same thing. Some girls you can say, yeah, well, same with Jen. Like, she was my other girlfriend when I was with Din Venom's ex-pig. Okay, I knew Jen before I knew Din Venom's ex-pig. I had already slept with Jen before I had slept with Din Venom's ex-pig. And so Jen was like my long-term friend who we would have sex. And we had a lot in common. She's a really good musician. She was one of my favorite musicians. I listened to her stuff on my MP3 player. And, she was in love with this guy in her band, and she was like, he won't be polyamorous, and he wants me all to himself, and I'm not into it. And I was like, wow, but I never would have dreamt of telling Jen, hey, you got to be only with me. She would have said, she already told me one time, she said, you're so stupid that it makes me embarrassed I've ever fucked you. I can't even believe how tacky and corny you are. And, because I made this song or something. It was like this, I even don't want to say it, but my friend and I wanted to be dating coaches. Okay, I'm really sorry to say this. This is really tacky. Okay, especially considering I'm a complete loser. But we made this commercial for it, and I showed her the commercial. And after she listened to it, she said, I feel completely embarrassed that I had sex with you. Like, you're so fucked. Like, you're so completely fucked. I was like, yeah, I know to you, but there are guys who are more fucked than me. Like, it was the same with Din Venom's ex-pig. We met this guy who has $50 million at the strip club. He's from Dubai, and he said he was some kind of prince or something, but he did have $50 million. And Dim Dam's ex-pig was like, you should make him a client. Like, he's more fucked than you. You're super fucked, but he's more fucked than you. Jen was super not fucked. Jen was like really cool, like as cool as you can get. And her kneecaps would come out of place. Her kneecaps would fall out of joint. And that's extremely painful. And that's relevant because someone who goes through excruciating pain understands things on a deep level. There's deep wisdom that comes from suffering. And, I think this is part of how my grandma is so cool. Like, one of her babies died, and she's suffered unimaginably. And so, now, was that a sacrifice? Did someone sacrifice her baby? I'm not sure. It died when it was like 1 year old. Her name was Judy. And the doctor came to her house, and he said, I'm personally coming to your house to tell you that this is a thing that happens, that babies die like this. And I know it's not your fault, but I'm personally coming to tell you that it's not your fault because I don't want you to ever have a second guess about yourself. I don't want you to ever think that this is your fault. I'm telling you that this is something that happens, and don't ever think that you did something wrong. Don't ever think it was that you should have checked on the baby earlier, because these kind of thoughts are going to come through your head sometimes. And so don't be doing that to yourself, because I've seen this before. And so she's had when someone goes through a lot of suffering. And then so I was an accidental teen pregnancy, so then I lived with my grandma growing up. So I had her wisdom. I had her wisdom instilled, which is kind of a kind of freestyle. By that time, my grandma had 3 kids, like 4 kids, including Judy, and she had raised them. And so you go through all the pitfalls of, your first kid, you fuck them up, you try too hard, you hoover them, you helicopter them, and then by your last kid, you say, okay, just give them love, and anything else is too much. And so I was the last kid. I had a lot of time for her to become a seasoned mother. So I had a very seasoned mother. And, she had so much understanding. Like, as soon as I'm even starting to think about drinking, it's as if she knows. She goes, here's a 6-pack of beer. And she goes, you want to invite the girls over? I'm going to leave the house. We're like 14 years old. And she goes, okay, invite the girls over and get drunk with them. And I'm not going to be home. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to sleep over at someone else's house. This is not something that you'd get from your mom. This is something you'd get from your grandma. This is a mature person, and what a good fucking way to be. What a good fucking way to be. And then, same with other family members. The first time family offered me weed, I was 13 or 14. And I was like, cool. Cool. I was like, no, thank you. I was afraid of inhaling smoke. And then I did start smoking with my friends, but I didn't really inhale it. I was always afraid of getting high or of hurting my lungs or something. But I'm sure a little bit of it got in. I'm sure I was a little bit out of it. But getting drunk, I never really would do it. It wasn't until I was 16, and I had my best friend when I was 16 was 24. And I really just loved him. He was the first friend I felt like, he really understood me. I felt like none of my other friends understood me. Now, the strange thing was, over a long term, my original high school friend has become my closest friend in a certain way. And we understand each other on a different level. Like, for example, when I was 16 and I got drunk with this friend, and that was really fun. But then my mom was there, and she would be limiting. She'd say, okay, you can have like 2 Smirnoff or something. But I would never really get outright hammered. And so I never really got the gist of getting drunk until I was in college. And yeah, I guess all my friends understood the same thing, We all had a very sick sense of humor. We would just joke about, torturing people and crimes against humanity. And, that was the only thing that really made us laugh. And, about people we didn't like, or just people who we had nothing against them, which made it even funnier, like just to be so maliced. And, but anyway, it wasn't until I was in college where I really got hammered drunk, and then I started getting really fucking drunk. And, but then I got this girl Shadia to my room, and I realized that being drunk didn't actually give you, power to have sex with people. It just gave you power to not be afraid of rejection, but it didn't make you capable of having sex with people. And And, and in an instant, I realized that drinking is not worthwhile. To some extent, though, I haven't really realized that about acid. I mean, I really prefer acid, but I never am trying to have sex while I'm on acid. It's never like a goal. When I would drink, it would be, okay, I'm going to get drunk, and therefore I'm going to have sex. But when I have acid, I think I'm just going to have fun. I just like being high. It's just a lot of fun to be high. Whereas just to be drunk, it's not really that much fun. My mom hid my beer last time after I got drunk, and I thought, I was thinking of asking her where it is, but because I technically do have 2 beers left, I think. I was like, yeah, I don't think so. It doesn't even matter. But then it was in college where I met Jen, and it never occurred to me, and then there was this, to be possessive, to be exclusive. And then I had this girlfriend named Christy in college, and she had big, huge rich house tits. And she had inverted ass too. Really strange. But here's the weirdest thing. Christy didn't smoke and she didn't drink. She was a total prude. She was as prude as you get. She was an HR department type girl. A secretary type girl. Someone who, she was a virgin in college still. I don't think she had even ever kissed a guy. And so she had beautiful skin. Her skin was gorgeous. She was so supple. Her skin was completely supple. Whereas Sub-Zero, and Christy had like really super nice tits. And I'm not even a tit guy, but she had like, if we were to, she would get complimented on her tits all the time. And so, I don't really know what it was, but I really liked her. She had no ass. I mean, it was like inverted ass, like just the smallest ass you've ever seen. But and then we broke up, and then we were friends who had sex for like a year. And then we were like really good friends. And it was like really great, but I never really wanted to be possessive of her. But when we were together, I used to visit her every single night. Like we would sleep over every single night. And then finally she told me it was like too much. She's like, "Can we like take a break for like a couple days?" I was like, "Sure, yeah, we can break up." And then she was like completely devastated. She was like devastated. But that wasn't really it. Okay, that wasn't really it. I realized that she loves me. And I realized I had never thought about my whole life. I was like, yeah, we never said I love you, but, we were clearly a couple. And I didn't cheat on her. Like, we were obviously a couple. And so I wasn't planning on cheating on her. Like, I'm not a cheater. And so then it struck me one time. I said, oh, you know what? She actually loves me. We've never said I love you, but I realized that she loves me. I never even thought about this. I never thought about this, that we're going to be together forever unless I break up with her. And suddenly I was like, now I got to break up with her. And, I told her I was going to move to Africa or something. I was like, yeah, I want to go to Africa. And I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work out. And I believed it enough in my mind. I'm like, I want to travel or something. And, she was really devastated. She was crying, and it came out of nowhere. She's like, what did I, and I was like, I just realized, like, you told me South Park is stupid, and, I'm not really sure what it was. I'm not really sure what it was. You know, she was a good enough girlfriend. She was really great. And then she gang stalked me after to get cream pied because we always used condoms. Then she showed up at some place and she came back to my house. But then she didn't like it when Din Venom's ex-pig was there in her lingerie. And she's like, I'm uncomfortable, I'm gonna leave. And but I mean, it was nice seeing her. She was cool enough. But I never desired to be, you know, exclusive with her. Except it was just the rules of dating. You know, I would have, had she cheated, I would have been upset. But she was a very good girl. She was someone who would never cheat. You know, she was like a responsible girl. You know, not a drama queen, not you know, someone who pays their bills on time, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, well, she drank sometimes, but not, you know, not like, except for socially. And so, you know, there were only a few girls who I wanted to be exclusive with, like Chelsea and Din Venom's ex-pig and Cassandra, the Latino, who, well, my boss is a Latino, but like there's a difference, like this girl from a long time ago. And you know, I don't know what it was. But you know what I'm thinking? Because here's the comparison I'm making. I'm saying, well, the ones who are really hot, I want to be exclusive with, and the ones who are just barely hot enough to fuck, well, who cares about them anyway? That's what I'm thinking. But, you know, Christy was hot. In her own way, she was hot. And so was Jen. I mean, so was Sub-Zero. Like, Sub-Zero made $2,000 a night as a prostitute. I mean, that's good money for a prostitute. Like, she's hot. Din Venom's ex-pig, you know, I don't think it was that. And Chelsea had, you know, freaking a rugby player physique. And so, you know, it wasn't that they were more attractive. It was that they fucking cucked me. They fucking weaponized sex. And the ones who have never cucked me, the ones who have never weaponized sex, I've never been jealous of to begin with. And I never understood the difference. And it was like a love spell. Like SRNBG talks about a love spell. People are like, why don't you just leave your wife if she's cheating on you and trying to kill you? Well, he said, if you've ever actually been through a love spell, you would know that when someone has a love spell on you, you can't leave them. You don't even understand how strong a love spell is. And Chelsea got me with a love spell before I even knew what it was. I mean, I was super duper in love with Chelsea, like crazy in love with her. Crazy, like super crazy in love with her. And we had been talking nonstop for like, I don't know, 5 months. This was the most exciting thing in my life. Talking to Chelsea was at that time, was the most exciting thing in my life. And to some extent, the most exciting thing. Okay, and I don't want Dance Girl to say, oh really, she was more exciting than me? Or like the other pigs. It's not like that. It was more like I was still virgin back then. I still hadn't had my heart ripped out. I was still sensitive. Now I'm calloused and I'm dead inside. So nothing. So even Chelsea talking to me, I'd say, yeah, okay, yeah, that's really cool, really nice. I've already been killed on the inside, so nothing is as exciting to me as what it used to be. Kind of like when you cut someone's potential, you destroy their life forever. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. And so Chelsea and I were like talking all the time, and I was so like as if I was living in a dream. And then randomly one time she says, my boyfriend hasn't texted me in a week. What do you think? Do you think that's bad? And I don't hear what she's saying at all. I'm just like, yeah, we're going to get married. You and I, we're together forever and we love each other. And yeah, clearly your boyfriend sucks. Yeah, he's what an asshole. I didn't know you had a boyfriend, but yeah, he sucks. Thanks for telling me how much he sucks. I feel better now. You must feel bad about having a boyfriend because you love me and you're just telling me how much he sucks to make me feel better, okay? She might as well have sent me a cream pie video and said, look, what do you think of his cum? Do you think it's like a weird consistency? Like, I had no idea how much harm was being done to me when that happened. And I wasn't like, well, what are you talking to me for if you have a boyfriend? What's your problem? I never said anything like that. I was just like, yeah, I still love you. But it put a dagger through my heart. It was the silent dagger. It was the fucking, the surgical cut that was so sharp I didn't even feel it. And, that really, really destroyed me. It really fucking destroyed me. And then she was like, just a real tease and then, I'm not sure I had even thought about monogamy or possessiveness, but I would look at her pictures. And I had suffered with depression, the first time I was talking about wanting to get hit by lightning, wanting to die. I was like 12, like I was 13 when I started talking about wanting to die, wishing that I would die. And I carried a deep depression through my teenager years. And, when I was 14, I remember saying, oh, I'm depressed, and I've always been depressed. But I've just covered it up with, trinkets, with drinking milk or drinking chocolate milk. Yeah, I've had suicidal depression my whole life, but I just didn't realize because I like yummy chocolate milk, and I drink my yummy chocolate milk and then I forget. But now suddenly, literally in a single moment, and it was when I was getting new shoes, I realized that I'm not even happy and nothing even matters, and that I've been like this forever and I'm always going to be like this. It was a very instantaneous realization, just sitting out in the car by myself next to Costco. And so, and why was I in the car by myself? Well, because I was depressed. Why don't you just go? Because I had to go be by myself. Because I needed to sit alone by myself because I was depressed. And suddenly I just realized it. Suddenly I remember, oh yeah, when I first went to my new school, when I was in grade 2, the first thing I did was I walked out to the field by myself and everyone else is talking and playing, and I just went out to sit by myself, and I thought maybe they think I'm mysterious, but I just had to be by myself, and I didn't particularly like it, but I felt more comfortable just being alone. And then, I never really socialized much. Like, I had best friends. I had, like, certain friends, but I was by no means popular. And then, the girl I liked didn't like me, and the girl who liked me, I liked enough. And that was even lucky, there was only one. And out of my whole school, out of all the years, and I felt lucky too. I felt lucky. And so, and then when I moved to my high school, I was the only one from my grade school who went to that high school. Literally everyone else went to a different school. They went to Grand River or St. Mary's, and I was the only one who went to Eastwood. I was like, yeah, I don't need any of you. Because they all bullied me too. By the end of it, they were all bullying me. And so I was like, okay, fuck this. And then, so I went to a brand new school. And then again, I found like one friend. And then I found like three girls, or like two girls, like Joanna and Angelique. And then eventually their friend Jess, who I don't really know where Jess came from. She went to a different school, I think. But because I can't remember her in high school. I met her after high school. But so it was just, the four of us. And then we had this other friend, Scott, who became a cop. And he moved away to Scarborough because he didn't want to have to arrest any of his friends. Hold on. Yeah, anyways, so, and then in grade 9, I had a crush on this girl named Danelle, and she had this really butch friend who had a crush on me. This girl was, like, very violent and aggressive, and, like, popular, kind of, but, really bad, kind of, I don't know. She was nice enough, though. I liked her. And, I was in love with Danelle. And Danelle seemed more in my league, I guess. There was this other girl who was like super crazy hot. And I could never be with her. And freaking Danelle was like, I was in love with her. And it was strange. Because the one who I liked a lot more, her name was Nicole. But I was like, I could never have Nicole. I thought Nicole is just too popular. She's a different breed of person. But anyways, I never got with Danelle, and I never had any girlfriends in high school until I left, and then I met Jocelyn, who I'd always had a crush on her. She went to my high school, and then finally I was leaving. I was like, hey, I've always liked you, and now I'm leaving, so I thought I'd tell you. And she was like, oh, well, here's my number. And I can't remember. I feel like I was only 17 then for some reason. And it was before I left. Maybe it was like before summer or something. I can't exactly remember. But, Jocelyn she visited me in Copenhagen then. And she was always a tease. But, eventually I didn't like her. Eventually I was like, ugh, God, what's wrong with you? Yeah, how you get off on this kind of stuff? You're really fucked. You're really, really fucked. And then she gang stalked me to some bar in Toronto when I was with Din Venom's ex-pig. I was like, now I got a girlfriend who's way hotter than you. You stupid bitch. And then I was like, you should come have a threesome with us. She's like, no. She still rejected me. She still managed to take my power away somehow. But with Jocelyn, I kind of wanted to be exclusive. But she would cuck me too. She would tell me how she fucked her boyfriend and how she's going to hell and how it was all bloody and how it was all fucked up. 'cause she was a Jesus girl. And she's like, you have to wait till you're married to have sex. So a lot of this probably has to do with gang stalking. Like, I was talking today about how I was at the bar with this guy, and he grabbed my hand and he pushed it on a girl's butt. And then the way I got punished for that, and I didn't want him to do that. I didn't condone that. I didn't like that. That disturbed me. I didn't say anything to the girl. I should have said to the girl, that was my friend who made me do that. And I'm not so sure he's my friend anymore after he made me do that. This is not something I would do, and I'm sorry for that. I should have said that, but it was so embarrassing and it was so weird. And then after, the way they punished me, whichever gang stalkers, I'm sure there are different factions within gang stalkers, but whoever handler punished me by having a guy come up and punch me in the face for that. Sucker punched me in the face. And, when I was in grade 2 or 3, I used to, I'm not sure if this was before or after, but I would pee on our cat. I would do this like in the living room. I just thought it was hilarious. He would just be walking by me and I just piss on him a little bit. And I thought it was like the funniest thing in the world. So I'm not sure if I was being punished for this, or, sometimes I would be like really mean to my one cat when he would eat my mayonnaise cheese sandwiches. I would make these, I'd put mayonnaise and cheese on a hot dog bun in the microwave, and then if the cat would put his nose up to it, I would get really mad at the cat. I don't think I would hit him, but I would throw him down the hall or something. And so maybe they were punishing me, but they had these older kids who were probably 16 or something throw a snowball or an ice ball and hit me in the face when I was playing outside. And it was really hard. I had snowball fights with my friends, so you know what it's like to get hit in the face with a snowball. But this was really hard. This was imagine have you ever seen Mike Tyson when he's 16? Imagine someone who basically has the body of an adult, and they're throwing an ice ball or a heavy snowball as hard as they can at someone in grade 2 or grade 3, throwing it hitting them in the face. It was deeply shocking. It was deeply shocking. And I was really fucked up about this, so fucked up. It was Chelsea level fucked up, where instead of crying and freaking out, I just said that didn't happen. No, that's not what that was. I just went completely into denial about it. And which meant it went into my unconscious. It went in really deep. It really it hurt me more than I could even realize. It was shaping my personality. And so, the first time a woman flashed me her gash, I was at Bridaldale Falls in Manitoulin Island, and she pushes her bikini to the side and walks right in front of me, and I see her lips, and I'm I don't know, I can't remember how old I was, but I think I may have been 11 or 12 or, I'm not exactly sure, but I was oh my God, I'm just, I feel so embarrassed that I see this. I'm shocked, I'm intrigued, and I'm embarrassed, I'm scared. What if she sees me looking, but it's right in front of me? And, and then being assaulted when I was 13 by a guy, and, being strangled when I was 13, and, having girls in high school. The one girl I liked in high school, her sister is married to the singer from Ill Scarlet. You can just imagine the type of girl who would be married to the singer of the band Ill Scarlet. Can imagine what she would have to look like. Imagine her level of popularity. And this girl's sister, who was basically almost as hot as her, was someone who would just gang stalk me excessively. And so I was oh, I guess you like me. And then so we would hang out, and I went to her house, and I'd be hanging out with her and her sister would be like, is he gonna leave soon? And she was just taking me for a ride. She wouldn't be my girlfriend, she wouldn't sleep with me, she was just cucking me, she was just teasing me, she was just destroying my self-esteem. She was just getting off on that. She might as well have had a fat friend and said, hey, do you want to go out to the nightclub? I want to watch you not get hit on while I get hit on. That's basically what she might as well have done. And I was her fat friend that she would take out to the nightclub, basically. And so I'm having like fucking physical assaults, fucking weird, sexual stuff being done, girls cucking me or like fucking me up, like diminishing me, making me feel small. And the whole time, I don't realize that this is having an effect on my personality. This is conditioning me to be possessive. That, I'm not going to lose another one. I got to tie this one down. I got to keep this one under wraps. And then so the first hot girls who like me, who also cuck me, I then fall under their love spells. But the first hot girls who like me but don't cuck me, I don't fall under their love spells. And a love spell is not a good thing. It seems like it's romantic. It's actually evil. It's actually coercive. A love spell is coercion. And so, someone like Jess was gorgeous. But I was never under a love spell with her because she never weaponized sex. And I thought the strangest thing, my dad said this is how normal people think. He says, if you aren't jealous when your partner is with someone else, it means that you don't love them. That's what a normal person thinks. And jealousy means love. If you're not jealous, then there's no love. And the reason for that is because sexual love is always possessive. Now, Osho says sexual love is always possessive. And therefore, if you are under a love spell, it means that your love doesn't go higher than sex. And I think it is true that sexual love is possessive, but your love also goes higher than sex. And so, therefore, you don't have to be possessive over someone, but you also can't use sex as a weapon. Like, it would be like offering someone some food and then right before, offering a homeless person some money, and then right before you give it to them, you go psych and you take it away. I mean, it's different. It traumatizes them. The homeless person doesn't need you to give them all your money, but they need you not to say psych at the last minute, right when you're about to hand them money. Or your employer, it doesn't have to be homeless, like your employer gives you money, and then right at the last minute they go, just kidding, I'm going to burn it. It's like you're possessive over your money, but it's not a big deal if your employer gives other people money too. But if they constantly burn your money right before they give it to you, and then you start getting all nervous about it and trying to make sure that they don't have a lighter, and trying to be like, okay, you can't have any blowtorches nearby, and whenever I work, I got to make sure that you don't have a blowtorch because you're going to burn the money. It's kind of, I don't know, my mind is going blank. I think you understand what I'm saying. It's a love spell. To make someone jealous and to make them possessive is a work of the love spell. And if you don't understand the spell, You think that who you're not jealous of isn't hot or isn't cool. Like you just think, well, I just am not jealous of them, so therefore I don't love them. But that's not really what it is. It's that they fucking put a love spell on you if you're jealous. And even if you've had enough love spells put on you, you might just have an automated love spell where even someone who doesn't put a love spell on you, you treat them the way that the last person treated you. And you're like, well, you're all the same anyway. Like carrying it forward. Carrying how your ex treated you to the next person. Carrying how your dad treated you to your boyfriend, or how your mom treated you to your girlfriend or something. Like, I think this is a common thing that people do. And so, with all of my relationships, they have been love spells. Like, not all of them, but basically, a good chunk of them. My only relationship that it hasn't been a love spell has been with like Angelique, Jess, and Jen, and Sub-Zero, and Magnolia, and now with the fourth and Blonde Girl, and now with Dance Girl too. And, maybe some others I can't remember. And with Christine. And, fucking, it's much better this way. It's like, I'm much fucking happier with this. And I was so worried. I was like, what if I'm dumped? What if I'm single? I was like, oh, whatever. At least you're not in a love spell. You escaped hell out of that love spell. So, really good, really good. And if it's going to work out with Dance Girl, you wouldn't want a love spell anyway. If you're like, well, the only way I could have had her was to be exclusive with her. You never really had her anyway then. If you love someone, let them be free, and if they love you, they'll come back. If you have to have a grip on someone, you don't really love them. So I'm feeling so much better. I was I got some hate rape stuff today. I was like, whatever, I was like, whatever. I don't think it was from any of the girls. I think it was from, I think it was from someone else. I don't know who it was. So, but even if it was, I wouldn't be that upset, but I don't think it was. Okay, why would it be? I would have no reason to think it was. Even from Dance Girl, even if Dance Girl's like, I'm really mad now, I don't want to kill you. I actually don't think that Dance Girl would do that. I actually trust Dance Girl more than that. So, this is good news. And then so I wanted to say, I might be switching back to oxytocin mode. Because I did have some moments. I don't like saying this kind of stuff because you get humbled pretty quickly. I was talking about getting poisoned, and there was this. I was walking on Noel, I don't know, by Prospect Park, and I was filming, and there was this car gang stalking me, and I was saying, who's in control, look. And I start turning around and following the car, and I'm like, look, see, they're hiding from me, I'm the real man in charge. And then I think they poisoned me with salmonella that night or something. I was very, very sick. I was in bed for, I think, like 2 weeks or maybe even a month. I was in bed for a long time, and it was horrible. It was like excruciating pain. And I had been more invasive filming people than that. It wasn't that I was violent or that I was invasive. It was that I had this attitude of who's in charge. It's me in charge, not you. And they could feel that. And that's, like they say, this is a spiritual war. That's what they don't want. They don't want you to feel like you're in control. They don't want you to feel like you have power. And so they gave me a good dose of poison. And after I ate the food, it was this plate of mashed potato, or plate of cubed potatoes and something else. And within about an hour after eating it, I had the most sore throat I had ever had in my life. And then I got deeply fucking sick, and I was in bed for a long time. And I was saying, and I wrote this on Quora, that to have that attitude, what they were punishing was the attitude. And to not have that attitude, I appreciate. It's like, for example, today, I wouldn't say, okay, I'm in control. It wouldn't appeal to me to say something like that. And I thought, to get poisoned in order to lose that attitude is worth it. And I'm not giving whoever poisoned me a pass. I'm not saying, thank you for poisoning me. I'm really happy that you took away my bad attitude. Thank you for showing me the light. I'm not saying that. By poisoning someone, you'd probably make them more angry. Okay, I personally take credit for the way that I responded to that I went beyond my instinct with intelligence. I said, you can't fight. You're a single person fighting an entire army. You can't do that. And your attitude that you're the one in control is factually wrong. And it's dangerous. And it's defensive, and it's compensatory. It's a defense mechanism that you can't admit how helpless you are. You're too weak to admit how weak you are. And your weakness is situational. You're weak like against a human being fighting a machine, fighting a bulldozer. Your weakness is not a sign of your worth. It's like saying, try to lift 1,000,000 pounds. You're too weak to lift 1,000,000 pounds. It doesn't mean you're not a strong person. It just means proportionally in this situation, your weakness is something that scares you, and you can't admit your own weakness, so you have an attitude. And there are people who also have attitudes. The people poisoning you, they also have an attitude. And your attitude offends them. They're also scared, and they also have an attitude because they're scared. And they're trying to stop their fear by poisoning you. They think if they can destroy you and hurt you, make you cry, make you scared, that they're not going to be scared anymore. And so you have to realize, you're laying on the floor and puking and crying because you're in so much pain, and you have to realize that you're not in control. And don't act like you are. And you might have an ego. That's not going to help you. You might be really scared and you're delusional and you're like, I'm in control. That's not true. Okay, you're going to have more strength to say you're not in control and you're scared. And that's a more human, sane way of dealing with things. And so I got the point. And so now it doesn't really appeal to me to say that kind of thing, to say I'm the one, I'm the boss, and you're just you're a baby and I'm the boss or something, and fuck you, and you better not mess with me, and I'm on the winning team. Okay, it doesn't even appeal to me to say that anymore. I'm capable now of just saying you win, and I'm scared of you. And, and that's the bottom line. And it doesn't make me a weak person, and it doesn't make me a coward. And then therefore I sit with the fear, and I dismantle it and I diffuse it, and then it changes. Then I absorb it. But I absorb a transmuted version of it. I don't just become fear incarnate. And I think, so in that sense, because don't get me wrong here, don't say I'm saying, thank you for poisoning me, you showed me the light. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, in the end, to have to pay the price of being poisoned, to get the point that being tough doesn't work, it was a worthy transaction. I say on the spirit level, I've learned that was a bad attitude. That having a bad attitude attracts bad things on the spirit level. It gives people permission to do bad things. And SRMBG was saying this. He said the cops were trying to kill him. And he doesn't blanket people. He doesn't say all the cops are bad, all the Freemasons are bad. He says, he's friends with people who are racist against black people, and he's black. But he says there are certain racist people who say you're different. And he said he was going out and he was really angry, and he realized that if he's angry, he might just get killed. And he said when the cops beat up on someone, it's because they have a bad attitude, because they got that dark energy. And he said, I'm not giving the cops a pass to go beat up people, but for my own protection, if I'm feeling angry, like I'd like to go out and beat up somebody, I don't go out, because that gives someone else permission to beat up on me, because they can feel that. And so if I'm in that mode, I just stay home. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, you don't want to have a bad attitude. You don't want to be full of hatred, because somehow they know. Somehow there's someone who understands it. They go, I can get you now. I can get under your skin. I can fucking justify this. Somehow I have God's permission. Something to that effect. And I think that works the same in romantic relationships, that when you get under a love spell, and then you have that possessive spirit on you, where you're like, where were you last night? Who were you with? Who are you looking at? Do you love me enough? Prove it more that you love me. I need you. I only breathe for you, so you're indebted to me. Then it's like another form. Like, they'll hurt you emotionally. So I try to have like a good attitude about things. Partially just because there's nothing else to do. And then partially too because of the guardians. There are some people who say, I got a bad attitude and I'm looking to punish someone. And I can do it, and I have the police protection. If, that guy who punched you in the face, that guy who tried to touch your face and rub his hands in your hair, if you fought him, you'd get a criminal record. But if I fight him, I have protection from the police. He has protection from the police, but I also have protection from the police. And, I do like fighting, and I am a soldier, and, I am in the mood. I also have an attitude, and I want to kick someone's ass who has an attitude. I'm like, leave it to them, I guess. I don't know. I don't even want to be associated indirectly to that, though. fighting for sport, I don't think, is something to ever put your name on. But if you could say, don't fight for sport, but if you can help me, protect me, then do it, okay? Because I have a feeling that if I wasn't afraid of a police record, I would probably have the courage to fight people. But I don't know. But I probably would. But I don't want to have, when the guy punched me in the face, I scared him. I wasn't even scared at all. I just stood there looking at him. And he had all his witnesses with him. He had his friends with him. He sucker punched me right in the face, right in the jaw. And I just looked at him like I was just confused. I wasn't scared at all. And I wasn't even angry. And, he was roughly my size. He was probably a little bit smaller. He asked me if I wanted to get killed. He may have had a weapon. He looked like he did a lot of coke. I saw him again, I forget where. I think walking under the bridge near Eastwood years later. And again, he looked like he had just done a bunch of coke. And, he looked very disgruntled. He had a very chaotic sort of energy. He was wearing a suit jacket, I think. He may have been wearing the same clothes that he was wearing that night. And, he had his friends watching in the parking lot. But, I probably, I never even thought about fighting him. You wouldn't want to get a criminal record. You would never, you would just run away. And my dad has run away from a fight, and he had broken all his fingers except his pinky, punching people. He said he would punch people out a lot. But he got jumped by some jock type guys. And, he told me this story, I forgot how it was relevant, but I was feeling bullied or something. And I think he got beat up with his brother or someone. And he said, you got to run away sometimes. You got to, if someone's robbing you and you say, that's my grandmother's ring. My grandmother gave me that ring. Well, your grandma would rather you be alive than getting killed just to keep a ring. Just get a new ring. Keep your life. The person who gave you that gift would say, just don't get hurt. We appreciate your safety more than that gift we got you. That gift is worth nothing compared to your life. I don't think your life is so cheap as gold. Don't think your life is so cheap as pride. I mean, what are you trying to prove? But if you've ever played pool with someone on cocaine, the unimaginable confidence that someone on cocaine has. And, this one guy we played, we hit the ball once and he goes, okay, my turn. I just won the whole game. Like at the very beginning, he's like, I'm going to win the whole game right now. And he was really good. My friend Nathan and I, we learned how to play pool for a couple years. And eventually it was pretty fun. Pool is one of those games that it's, when you don't know how to play it, it really sucks. But then as you learn how to play it more, it gets better. It's kind of like my video game Ride 4. I got up to 1,000cc bikes now. It's kind of hard, but I can at least play it a little bit better now. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not a fighter at all. But I've lost it. The last time I lost it was in grade 7. But I mean, I always think my biological dad, my brother, this is not my dad when I talk about my dad, but my biological father, who I rarely talk about, who I don't mean if I ever talk about my dad, he he punches people out if they get too close to him. That's what his brother said. But he's big. You know, he looks like the dad in How to Train Your Dragon, and I'm Hiccup. But when I've lost my, the last time I lost my temper, I was in grade 7. But I always thought if I actually lose it, I could probably be a really good fighter. Like I could probably go nuts, like one of those like crackheads type people who can fight 5 people. I always thought like that guy who punched me in the parking lot with his friends. No, I didn't always think that. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just thinking it now. I'm just thinking I probably could have kicked all of their asses. If they didn't have a weapon, I probably could have kicked all their asses. But who cares? Who cares? I mean, what's your opinion on that? What would you do if someone sucker punches you in the face? Do you just is it like a karmic trap that if you fight them back, then you're in trouble too? An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, or is it that you don't do anything and you let God take care of it? Well, does God even exist? How is that working out? Well, what about the people who are do-gooders? I mean, how is that working out? There's no help anywhere, is there? I mean, is the world getting better? In the last 20 years, in the last 40 years, is the world getting better or worse? But, I can say that guy who punched me, he was very chaotic. He looked disturbed. He looked mentally disturbed. And when I saw him years later, he also looked mentally disturbed. I'm not sure if I would have gave him a whooping, if it would have even made him less disturbed. It may have made him more disturbed. And just because he punched me, I'm not sure it made me more disturbed in the end. I don't really know what the karmic toll is, but I think even if I wasn't afraid of a criminal record, I think I made the right choice. I think, even if I could have beat him up and had no punishment come my way, I think I made the right choice. Just walk away. If you don't have to fight, don't fight. Why even hurt your knuckles? What's the point? What pain could you add to this guy's life? This guy, like, if you think about people who cut themselves, this guy would probably enjoy physical pain. I've cut myself. Like, this guy would probably enjoy physical pain. What suffering could you add to his life? Just walk away from this guy. And that's I think a difficult thing to do. Because you got your own image, you got your own, you're really offended, and you'd like to call the police, but you can't call the police because he's protected, and wouldn't that make you angry? If someone punches you in the face and they go, well, I'm protected by the police, so what are you going to do? Wouldn't that make you angry? They make you cry. Someone punches you in the face and you're crying, and they're like, you want to get killed? And they got a bunch of people watching them, like just 2. They got 2 of their friends watching and laughing. They do it for entertainment. Like, would you be angry if someone did that to you? And how long would it take you before you could say, I'm not angry and I'm going to walk away? Because you have mental problems and I'm not capable of helping you. The help you need is to go to a mental institution, and that help doesn't exist. So I don't have any ability to help you, and you're really mean and harmful, so I'm gonna go away from you. How long would it take you to transition from I want to kick your ass and I hate the government and I hate the law, I hate the people who protect you, I hate this whole system that allows this, I hate the complacency of all the people who partake in this, I hate the big conspiracy to allow this to happen, and I hate you, and I have like bitter, visceral hatred towards you, and my blood boils. How long would it take you to transition from that to, and my face is all fucked up, and my jaw hurts, and you almost hit my labret, which could have knocked my teeth out? How long would it take you to transition into, yeah, it's cool. Anyway, I'm going to go home. I'm going to have some lasagna now. And then I'm going to go out to the bar again, knowing that they can just have someone physically assault me. And there's nothing I can do about it. And I'm lonely now. I can't meet anyone because if I go out, there's going to be someone who punches me in the face. And then I go out and there's girls laughing at me saying, you're just going to jack off. You're single. You should kill yourself. And I'm like, but I can't go out because someone's going to assault me. And they're like, yeah, we're going to steal your house. We're going to give you a criminal record. You get a fight, we're going to give you a criminal record. We're going to set you up. And there's so many things to be bitter about. I always just say, look at those girls themselves. Look at the guy himself and be like, would you trade places with that guy? Those guys are like kamikazes in a way, but they're not even because they're protected. But, it depends though. If there really is a faction, if there really is factions and you really can appeal, you can appeal to if everyone's a gang stalker, except for TIs, which is basically what I think is the way it is. The only people who aren't gang stalkers are TIs. Then it's just a matter of who you know. In which case, you would want to put your story out there. You would want to appeal to the. You'd want to appeal to the public for help. I mean, there's a light side to this too. So the dark side is there are people who can hurt you, they can sexually and physically assault you, and nothing's going to happen to them. That's the dark side of being a TI. The light side of being a TI is if I say, I'm going to go to the strip club on Friday, and I would like someone with 50-inch hips and 29-inch waist, and please be there. The odds are good that I would see someone with roughly a crazy ratio like that. There are many people who are there to help. And sometimes the reason why they don't is because you never are even known. No one even knows who you are. They're not even paying attention. We all know that there are bad people. There are good and bad people. Well, if most people are gang stalkers, then there are good and bad gang stalkers. And so just take gang stalking out of it and just take it as a sign of you have to ask for help. You have to say, this person fucked me up. This person harmed me. This is protected by the law, but you're protected by the law. So you protect me from this person. If you wouldn't mind, if you could, And forgive me for wanting you to torture them for sport, for my glee. Okay, I was very angry, but in the end, I would actually like to just have equal rights, which means I don't, and forgive me for saying I'd kick their ass and I'd fucking all this stuff. In the end, I would really just like equal rights, if possible. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. But I think it is to some extent. It's not fully possible. It's not fully evil either. The world isn't fully dark and nasty and sick, and it's not fully positive and pure. It's a mix of good and bad. And so overall, I wonder about kids who have been beaten up by their dads. There are a lot of kids who say, my dad used to beat the shit out of me when I was a kid. And I wonder about that, because I've had like random adults assault me throughout my life, including when I was a kid. And so, I've never been beaten in that sense, like by an angry parent. But I know what it's like to be, strangled and hit in the face. And, as a kid, and having it ultimately done by adults. And to feel that sort of, I thought you were an adult. I looked at you differently. Like you're in a position of authority. And why are you doing this to me? And what's up with that? And that can make you really angry when there are people who are claiming a moral high ground and torturing you. And you're going, are you sure what you're talking about? I don't think you have the moral high ground here, because I'm a good person. You can't take that from me. And you also can't take it from what I believe is the public opinion. Like if you torture me and you're like, fuck you, I'll be like, I believe that most gang stalkers don't agree with you. Like, I believe in the court of public opinion, I could beat you. And they may not be able to help me 100%, but they can help me somewhat, I think. And, that's the story of the gang stalker's life too. Like, it's not just about me. Like, I'm sure if the majority of people could stop the genocide in Gaza, they would. Like, just because really bad things happen in the world doesn't mean that everyone is just cool with it. And I sort of feel like the higher you go in rank, the more, in general, the more bad you are. And the lower ranking people are more good. Like the lower ranking people are more compassionate. And the higher ranking people, in order to get those ranks, they gotta be like not compassionate. But the majority of people are low ranking. Like there's this idea that's pretty popular that everybody hates their boss. And it's because the boss is less compassionate. And this is just a stereotype, but that the majority of people are not always cool with the policy. That the policies, that we don't really have a democracy. That's kind of what I'm saying. That democracy is a really good idea, but it's actually still just an idea. We haven't actually done it. We still live in an oligarchy. We still live in a totalitarian, Orwellian tyranny. And this whole democracy stuff is just a humiliation ritual. And, everyone is part of the government, everyone works for the government. And so the little people are like the grassroots movement. And so there's help there too. I only go to the strip club. It's the only place I even feel safe. And if I wanted to meet someone, I don't think I'd go anywhere but the strip club. I don't really ever hit on the strippers, but I talk to them. And I'm happy with the people in my life. There was this girl at the bench at Victoria Park. I thought, I wonder if she's there for me. That would be cool. I think she was Asian. I thought, I should have said something about her. I wanted to go talk to her. I wanted to say, can I sit beside you? Talk to you? But I was in a certain mood. I'm not sure I would even do that, but I really would like to be sober. And I'm thinking maybe I should be. Maybe I can go back to oxytocin mode. Was kind of a fetch, a far-fetched thing, but in a way I sort of believe it. For me to go in oxytocin mode, I'd have to believe that my so-called pigs are actually my pigs, that they actually love me, they actually are going to be with me. And then I could take their proxies seriously. And with having 3, or at least 3 pending some other ones, there are some not as much things that the bad handler can fake out. Like I'm pretty sure that there are some other bad adversary handler negating and confusing everything with Dance Girl. And I'm pretty sure Dance Girl has told me that there is someone restricting her. And I'm not sure if that restriction is going to last forever. I'm not sure how long that's going to last for, what the deal is with that. But for the adversary to psych out multiple people, that would be more difficult. So I pretty much feel like I can trust. I want to just have a relationship with proxies, but whatever. I mean, it gives me some time to get sober. And I don't know if I can get sober without someone's support, without having love. Girls get fat when no one loves them. And I'm fat. I think it goes that way for a guy too. So I'm like, okay, I got the love of the people I love. So therefore, I can go back to oxytocin mode, which means not jacking off. Like, jacking off is dopamine mode. Oxytocin mode is not jacking off, like love mode. And the love carries you when the dopamine is running dry. Or, becoming stabilized, when you're stabilizing your baseline of dopamine. I'm depleted on dopamine. But, we got this big thing of queso. That's the problem with Costco. You get like a big thing of queso, and even though you're vegan, your mom's like, I can't eat all this queso, you gotta help me eat this queso. And then I'm like, okay, well then I'll just eat a bunch of queso. And then it's like so good and you just get fat. And I just can't stop eating queso. I'm like, when am I gonna stop? This is too good. And then my mom made me a cheesecake today. It was so good. She put a mint leaf on it. There's all these strawberries on it. It was so good. But I mean, I just made a really big transition in my life. I went from being possessive to being non-possessive. This is like one of the biggest milestones in my life. This is a serious upgrade. This is a real boost in intelligence. I truly feel intelligent now. I feel like this is what you're supposed to do. And this is not a betrayal to Dance Girl. This is anything but. Anything but this would have been a betrayal to her. And to everyone else. And, strangely, obviously it's crossed my mind, who is she with now? I thought it doesn't matter. And can you wish her well? Yeah. And can you still love her and hope that she lives with you? Yeah. Now, what kind of boyfriend are you? You're just gonna sit around playing video games? Don't you want to be doing yoga and doing the splits and stuff? Yeah, I know. I don't know. I might be kind of boring. I don't know what to say. I might be a bit boring. I don't know what else there is to do. I mean, I would like to have a fucking vegan restaurant, really. Sometimes I'd really like to have a vegan restaurant. Or, I'm getting some tax money back. I was thinking, I found this bike thing for like $642 to convert your bike to electric. I was thinking of converting my bike to electric and trying to sell it. But Amazon's like, it wouldn't even break even. You'd lose money on it. Hi, Stu. I'd like to have some kind of project. Maybe getting fit. A lot of dopamine mode is necessarily boring. Just laying around, jacking it. And I feel like I'm just waiting. One of these days I'm going to transition into oxytocin mode. And then I think my life gets a lot more fun. I'm a lot less boring at that point. I feel like that I'm growing. And then any pigs who are with me will also be growing then too. And that's like a better way of living. And then if I threw in a project, because I'm already retired, but if I threw in a project, like building a bike or, I don't know, making vegan food or something, or just getting really fit, I don't know, being a fitness coach or something. If I got like a really good body, I mean, I'm planning on water fasting for 40 or 50 days, cleaning out my guts and then getting a super good body. And so that'll be exciting. And I struggle a little bit with thinking, well, who bothers? Who cares? You're going to fail anyway. But I think, no, you won't. You won't fail anyway. You are extreme. You do actually go the extra 1,000 miles. That is your personality. You also are resting, okay? You're preparing for this. You did a 25-day water fast, so you can do a 50-day water fast. And, you would have went longer on your 25-day one, but you were actually a bit scared. And you only gave up when you didn't get the result you wanted. This time, you are going to get the result you want. This time, you are going to get Brad Pitt body in Fight Club. You're going to be 8% fat or 12% fat. You're going to have visible abs. You're going to look really, really good. You're going to have less fat in your face. You're going to make your pigs proud. and you're gonna not be a retard. Your face is your body is your mind is gonna be different. You're gonna be in acid mode all the time, but less retarded. Like when you're on acid, you're a little bit retarded. No offense. But you're also like not retarded, but you just say whatever you think, and that looks bad on you sometimes. And sometimes you say things that just because you're thinking it doesn't mean you believe it. And it makes you come off as different than you are. You're like, I'm just saying my thoughts as they arrive. It doesn't mean that I own my thoughts. It doesn't mean I identify with them. Like I was watching back my acid video, and there was this part where I was talking about how I was somehow really awesome or something. I forget, but it just seemed like I was bragging. And I thought, well, just go ahead and say it. When I was on acid, I was like, just say it, just brag. Because your normal self would think it, but you wouldn't say it, because it looks bad. Your acid self is prepared to look bad because you are ugly. You really are that ugly that you really do want to brag, and you're really that shameless too. And you do feel ugly about it, but you're not that ugly that you pretend otherwise. And you're not that ugly that you qualify it, that you go, I'm sorry for bragging, I shouldn't have done that. You're at least not a hypocrite. You at least let the people judge you. You go, I know I'm ugly, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to go, yeah, I'm ugly, just so you know. Yeah, I'm full of myself, just so you know, and I know it's bad and I shouldn't do it. You're not going to say that. You're just going to be full of yourself and let them judge you. And I'm like, but I'm not really full of myself. That was just a thought that came in my mind. And my sober self would crush that thought right away. My sober self would say, but that is ugly. That is full of yourself. And don't say that. My high self is like, nope, I thought it, so I'm going to say it. I'm not restricting anything. I'm not performing here. I'm not trying to come off a certain way. That's the whole fun of being high. And then I'll come on to a new topic too. It'll just be natural. I'll go through this ugly phase and then I'll go into some other phase. And ultimately, I had one ugly moment where I said, oh God, you're getting into bad territory here. And then I had another one too. And they were both very slight. And then I felt better again afterwards. I thought, this is great. Normally, when I have an acid trip, I really embarrass myself. And by the end of it, I go, oh, thank God I'm not high anymore. Hi, Stu. I always rub his belly in case you think I'm jacking him off or something. I haven't even seen Stu's wiener. I think he has stomach problems. I think that's why he meows so much. Okay. So I might make some pizza. Oh, I could have some macaroni. I have to make some bread. I don't know what to make. Yeah, I think I might go for a while. I might come back on live stream in a little bit. I'm gonna charge the battery for the camera, and then I'll bring the camera in the kitchen and I'll do the dishes. And I'll make some dough. Could probably mix that now. Probably gonna start buying my yeast in a jar. Anyway, I should probably turn the camera off because you can't see what I'm doing in here. Just making some dough. But do we have anything else to talk about? I don't think so. Yeah, there is one thing, but I don't really want to mention it. It was that for all of my pigs, I only want you to love me if you want to live with me. And do you think that that is kind of ridiculous? Do you think that that puts too much pressure on you? And do you think it's unfair that I say, if you want to be with another guy, keep it to yourself, please. It has nothing to do with me. I don't want to know about it. But you should know about my other pigs, and we're all going to live together. Is that unfair? Is that ridiculous? And do you think I should just say, well, that's the way I want to do it? It's fair enough, and like it or leave it? Therefore, if you're not cool with that, then just leave me alone. Is that like alpha? Like in a, in the alpha, being alpha isn't cool. It's like, well, I want to be the man of the house. And if I do say that, do I risk losing you? Are you going to say that's too much? I don't want to live with you. I don't want to, I would like to just be your girlfriend, but I don't want to have to be living with you. But this is what I want. I didn't think about fairness. I thought it's fair enough. You can, it still gives you your freedom. And now I don't want to put mushroom powder in this. I'll just put salt, a little bit of oil. You know what the really strange thing was? I was afraid of moving to Baden, that it would mean I would lose everything with Dance Girl. And now I feel like it doesn't even matter. If we move to Baden, it doesn't even matter. Not that I'd lose anyone. That if I'm with you, then I'm with you. And it doesn't matter where we move. I mean, we live in Kitchener. My mom's boyfriend lives in Baden. Well, Baden would be nice. I wouldn't even mind living in the country, like on a lake, like Manitoulin Island or something. But the city is nice too. I like our house. But I like the atmosphere I have. I really like my pigs. I really fucking like them. That changes everything. Now I know, I might go out and they might say, we don't even like, we're gone. I know. But I don't know that, so I'm still like, oh, well, why would you leave me? I don't think you're gonna leave me. I don't think you've left me. And so I appreciate it. Okay, so this dough is pretty fucking wet. It's a little bit too wet, I think. I think of it like my pigs are prison guards. I'm a prisoner. My pigs are the prison guards, and so they're kind of like my protectors in a way. But I'm kind of like somehow they need me too. I protect them from something else. They own the police. Or they own the muscle. They own the army. But I have something else that they need. It's weird. They have a masculine. They're feminine, but they own the masculine. Somehow, I'm not saying that I'm masculine and I own the feminine. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's something that they get from me that they need. Maybe it's love. I don't know. Maybe it's just that simple. Okay, so, God, this dough is too sticky. I don't like this. Ugh. I like to think it's wisdom. I like to think I have a good attitude, or I'm just like a nice person. I like to think that as I know myself, that what does it mean to love someone? Well, you have to love yourself first. I like to think that I've went far into myself. And so, therefore, the quality of love that I can give is... Oh shit, that's a lot of flour. Is a lot higher than what they'd find normally. That I can give a richer love. That I can understand them more. That I can see them more. That they feel understood. They feel like someone gets them. You know, you don't want to feel lonely with your lover. I felt lonely with my lover before. You know, I felt like we got nothing. There's nothing synchronized with us. You know, it's not about having nothing in common. You know, we can be different personality types. That's not the point. It's okay. It doesn't mean we need to like the same music. But when someone placates themselves, or placates you, or like bends themselves, pretends to be something they're not, tries to be something they're not, they pretend to themselves. You know, it's like, who are you? Whoever you're even, I don't even like who you're pretending to be. I'm not even rejecting you, I'm rejecting who you're pretending to be. I don't even know you. You don't even know who you are. You know, it feels so lonely with you. It's kind of how I felt with the Venom's ex-pig. She's so kind, so sweet. And I was like, there's something missing here. There's something you just don't get. Okay, so this dough is kind of tacky. You want it tacky. You know, and you keep me really good company. You being my pigs. You know, I make these videos for you. You're why I'm not lonely. So it's like we're already living together, really. We're already making pizza together. And I gotta do the dishes soon. There's like 2 days of dishes here. Yeah, I also feel that you understand me. I feel that we're on the same level, like we grow together. Okay, where is that? Oh boy. Oh great. You know, Marina, she fucked me up too. She was like, she cucked me. She fucking cucked me. And then she said, yeah, I want to be one of your girlfriends. And then when we talked on the phone, she said, I want to be your only girlfriend. And I didn't have the guts to say no. I literally right on the spot, I should have said no. But I didn't have the guts. And I became a bitch. You know, you can tell when you lose your power. You know, I lost my power at that moment. I wanted to be like Araj. Araj lives with his 5 girlfriends. And I told him that. And then Marina, you know, she's like, I want to be one of your girlfriends. And then as soon as we're talking on the phone, she does that certain voice that girls do, you know, but I want to be your only girlfriend. You know, the pouty voice, or I actually don't know if it's a typical voice, okay, but just every guys and girls do this voice, like a pouty kind of voice, you know, acting cute or something. Oh yeah, I'm looking for a battery. And I simply just didn't have the, you know, and Araj says this, he says, the difference between you and me is you don't have the guts to leave your wife. And you would like to. If you could, you would. But you're afraid. And, you know, leave your wife as in, you know, have your girlfriends too. You don't have the guts to do that. And I was like, but it's not the same thing. You know, that's what, you know, Araj didn't say this personally to me, but he said this in one of his videos. And I'm not sure I had the guts to even do it. You know, by the time I did it with Dance Girl, I was already thinking, well, Dance Girl's never going to talk to me anyways. But it was still hard. You know, I thought at least Dance Girl will talk to me through proxies, and I'll be losing that. And that was still hard to do. You know, it was extremely hard. Last night, I barely said it. You know, at the end, I was going to say, and that thing I was going to tell you, I'm just not going to tell you now. But when Marina said, "Oh, I want to be your only girlfriend," I literally lost my balls in that moment. Literally in a single moment, I said, "Okay. Yeah, I'll just abandon my whole plan. My whole feeling, my whole gestalt. My whole nature. I'll abandon my nature." And of course, do I think she's going to cheat? Oh yeah, of course. Do I think when she says she's not going to cheat, she believes it? Oh yeah, she believes it. Yeah. And, I'm thinking of my dad, and he goes, "You're so fucking stupid. How could you ever? For one, why do you think it means she doesn't love you when she cheats? And for two, why do you, that's pretty much what he said. Why do you think this was about Din Venom's ex-pig? He said, whose cum does she drink every night? How many liters of your cum has she drank over the last year? And you're saying that means she doesn't love you? Because she's talking to some guy online or something? And, I was like, but it's hypocritical. Now, he was right, when he defended me, because his girlfriend was like, yeah, why do you even care? You shouldn't even care. And he defended me. He's like, because it's hypocritical. And it was hypocritical because she was very possessive of me, but she would just, she wouldn't let me be possessive of her. And I thought the same thing is going to be with Marina. And Marina had those same type of eyes, a certain look on her face, like a total sociopath, but a nice kind, like the type of girl who just doesn't have any values because she's never had to, I don't know, just imagine the type of girl who feels literally zero shame and zero remorse about being a complete hypocrite, and who can completely cheat on you and then can get angry at you when you have sex with someone else, and has no concept that that's even fucked up. Someone who, if you tell them that's fucked up, they don't even understand. Just imagine that kind of sociopath. They would never hurt an animal. They would never be mean to you and like kick you or poison you or something like that. But they just have no values. They have no sense of values or morality or like fairness. They're like, because I can get away with it, because I can. So I wouldn't even think about the type of person who doesn't even know it's wrong because they would never even think about it. Someone who, when you say, you cheating on me, and then getting mad at me for cheating on you makes you a hypocrite. Someone who they would never even think about that. Or like, it's almost the equivalent of like someone who steals all your money, and they're like, but I never thought you would mind. I never thought what it would be like for you to receive having your money stolen. Because I just wasn't thinking about it. It just never crossed my mind because it wasn't important to me. So I never even thought about it. It wasn't that I was trying to be rude or mean. I just literally never even considered it because it didn't matter to me because I never had to consider it. Think of like that type of girl. And she's like, it doesn't matter if you dump me because I'll just find another person to replace you in 10 minutes. So what does it matter? Why would I think about it? And the guy I will find, he will be hot, he will be loyal, he will be consistent, he will be employed, he will have a house, he will provide for our baby, he will give me a baby, he'll give me everything that you could give me, and I'll find him in 10 minutes. Okay, think of that level of girl. When I saw Marina, I was like, you're the same archetype as Din Venom's ex-pig. I can see it in your eyes, that you have this kind of like vapid, just kind of like a floozy, a certain shallowness where you don't consider the depth in things. You're very loving, you're very warm, you're very kind, but you're not considerate. You're not aware of someone else's world. Or in other words, you're an idiot. Okay, like an idiot means to be in an idiom, to be in a world within your own structure that you don't see outside of yourself. You can't, an idiot is someone from the word idiom, which means, you're stuck inside your own thinking. You don't see what it's like to be someone else. You don't see how the effect that you have on other people. And so I recognized this with Marina right away. And part of me, you know, there's like an angel and a devil on my shoulders. And the devil is like, good, this means she's an idiot, so you can, you know, take advantage of her. But on the angel side, I'm going, you know, karma is real too. If you take advantage of her, she will also take advantage of you. Remember, it goes both ways. You can't take advantage of someone without them taking advantage of you. If you're in this kind of thing, okay, like clearly if you rob someone, you could take advantage of them and they can't take advantage of you. But if you try to, and what will be the way that you take advantage of her? That you marry her and you're a loser who feels not worthy of her. But she doesn't know that because she doesn't understand that you're just an idiot loser like her. Or something like that. I don't know. Her ex-boyfriend, you know, and really I'm kind of being facetious. Was I really thinking of like taking advantage of her? Not really, no. I was thinking more like, you know, in a way just feeling unworthy. You know, just feeling like she was too hot for me and too good for me, but because she's such an idiot, she doesn't realize it. But at the same time, I was like, not really. Okay, I've fucking, you know, she posed like she was an 11 out of 10. Really? Like, that was really what that was. I mean, she pulled a Chelsea. I was like, when I actually saw her on a non-photoshopped video, I was like, you're not even as close to as hot as you made your pictures look. You look like a completely different person. And so that was that was kind of how I was feeling, like I was taking advantage of her. I was like, you're too hot for me, and you don't know it because you're an idiot. But then she sent me this video that she made with her ex-boyfriend, and I was like, her ex-boyfriend was not even hot at all. And he was fanatical. He was a fanatical Christian. The type of person who would shame her for not praying hard enough. You know, someone who believes that rain comes from a guy peeing outside of a canoe in heaven. Where you say, oh, gee, great, glad I asked, thank you. And but Marina would be like, non-ironically, she'd be like, oh, I'm glad I asked. I never knew where the rain came from, but now I know. Thanks for telling me. And then this guy, he would say, we got to get married, and if you look at any other guy and you fuck any other guy, God's going to be really upset at you. And Marina would go, really? And he'd go, yep, God's going to be really mad. If you don't have sex with me right now, and only me forever, God's going to be really pissed at you. And Marina would go, yeah, that makes sense. You know, she's that kind of fanatical. And this guy, he was that kind of fanatical too. But he was not even hot. I thought, oh my God. And I'm thinking, you know, she is too hot for me. You know, I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. I'm like fucking... And then finally I make this video of doing the catwalk for her, like modeling naked for her. And she sends me this video back, and she tells me that she has 27.5 by 38 inch hips. And as it turns out, or even like 26.5 or something, or it may have even been like 24.5 by 38 or something. I think it was like 20, I forget what it was, but she gave me some ratio where it was like 0.67, which is, you know, the Dookie Queen has a 0.7, you know, and that's, you know, I like a 0.5. ChatGPT says that a 0.5 is physically impossible, but it also says to fuck yourself in the ass with your own dick is impossible, and I've seen that. So, and I've seen, you know, a girl who has, her name is Blonde Baby Supermodel on Reddit, and she has 20-inch hips, 20-inch waist, 40-inch hips, and she's short. You got to be short to have a ratio like that. And so fucking, you know, but that's just one thing. You know, Chelsea put all her points into face, for example. Like there's, you know, I've put 6 points into body, 4 points into face. But Marina, she's put 8 points into face, 2 points into body, but then she photoshopped her body to make herself look like a fucking 12. And so I'm actually literally thinking, okay, she's too hot for me, but she's an idiot, so she doesn't know it. And that's how I'm going to take advantage of her. I'm still going to be with her. And then she says to me, but I want to be your only girlfriend. And I go, honey, with hips like that and a face like that, you got it. I'll just, every other girl, like, I'll throw them in a fucking volcano. You toss them up and I'll alley-oop them into a volcano. And we'll watch them burn together. With hips like that and a face like that, I'll do anything you say. But of course it doesn't work like that. Okay, I'm too much of an idiot to even realize it at this point. That it's literally impossible to be more than a 10. And so she finally sends me this video of her, and I see her fucking butt, and I want to fucking kill her. I see her butt and I go, you fucking snake. You fucking snake. And the way she's angling it too, the way she's angling her butt, she's even trying to hide her butt in the video. And we're talking about doing anal, and I'm like, I want to do anal with you and all this. And she's like, really? You would really do that with me? I'm like, yeah, of course. Meanwhile, I have no idea. She's like, but my butt looks like fucking ridiculous. I have no idea she's saying that because she's photoshopped her body so much in these pictures she showed me. I'm just like, yeah, of course. Like, what are you? She's like, really? You would do that with me? I'm like, she's like, what if I'm not like that experienced? Like, what if I don't want to do that? I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, you're hot enough that we don't have to do anything perverted to compensate. And like, I would be into just plain vanilla sex with you, even just plain vaginal sex with no femdom bondage, anything, just regular plain sex would be fine. I would be happy. Okay, and this is the same with everyone too. Okay. And, you know, the fetish stuff is, it might be mentally ill. Okay, I might be mentally ill. But, you know, I said, even if you're not mentally ill like me, that's okay. You know, I don't mind. And then, but remember, she's already hooked me. She's already said, but I want to be your only girl. And she's, you know, which translates to cut off your balls now. Now that I have you invested in me, now I want you to cut off your balls. I wouldn't have asked at the beginning. And so I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there saying I want to be like Araj. You know, minus Araj is polygamist. He doesn't let any of his girlfriends have sex with other guys. And he freaks out if they talk about other guys. And I think that's not fair. I think it should go both ways. And so, and he says it's biological. He says there's a biological reason for this, but I don't believe it. And you know, he's always getting angry at his girlfriends too for talking about other guys. I'm not sure if they cheat on him, but you know, I don't think it would be fair to say be polygamist. There's probably some girls who would like that. Probably it appeals to some girls' nature to be like that. But I think more to their personality, like not really so much to their nature, at least when they're ovulating. You know, kind of like being possessed or something. A lot of people want to be possessed until they actually are, and then they find out what it is. And you know, there is a word in India for a proud slave. I think it's called a Sudha. But there are people who want to be possessed, who want to be slaves, because it takes all your responsibility away. And my dad has a rule. He says, I won't be any woman's only source of cock, because that leads to big problems because they get resentful. And, also then you need them to know how good you are. I mean, if you don't have someone else, you don't know how good it is with who you have. Like, you need to know how good pizza is, you have to know how good steak is. To know how good steak is, you have to know how good lasagna is, etc. If you only ever have one person, they could be really bad and you wouldn't know it, or they could be really good and you wouldn't know it. You need other people to keep you functional. And this is why I like the polyamorous switch, because well, why was it? It was some reason. It was like, well, I don't know. But just removing the jealousy, polyamory becomes very obviously what's natural. And what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, so Marina, she sends this video and she's hiding her butt. She won't even turn around and show me her butt. And then she makes another one where she does turn around and show me her butt, but she puts some weird special effects on the video where it like blurs out the video over her butt so I can barely even see it. And I'm like, you have a fucking crackhead butt. You have, and you're all about your tits and you're showing those off and they're really nice, but you have been hiding the fact you added like 10 inches to your hips on Photoshop. You made it look like you're a pear and you're an apple, which is cool. You put all your points into face. I get it. But you fucking you fucking hooked me. You told me you wanted to be my only pig, well, I believed that you were a pear with a fucking face, with a movie star face. You can't, that you fucking disguised yourself as a 12. That's fucked. And I believed you. I believed you. I was the one who felt like a manipulator. You manipulated me. I felt like a damn manipulator. Once I saw that, I thought, you fucking snake. And I couldn't believe it. I was like one of those girls on Dr. Phil. She's like, my Nigerian boyfriend loves me. And Dr. Phil is like, so how much money did he take from you? She's like, he took my house. He took everything. But he loves me. And so when have you ever seen him? I've never seen him. We just talk over MSN. But, he needed a bunch of money. And so he was, it's complicated, but he needed it because he's a good guy and he had to take care of his sick nephew. And, Dr. Phil is like, he doesn't love you. She's like, yes, he does. I know he loves me. I know he loves me. I looked at her butt. I was like, I know it's big. I know it's just the camera angle. She sent me a picture of her butt in jeans. And again, this is fine. Okay, this is fine. But because she was hot. She was very hot, but not hot enough to not use a love spell. Like she used a love spell on me. She made me think she was hotter than life, larger than life. And then I felt like the damn manipulator. And so she sent me this picture of her butt in jeans. And I'm thinking, no, it can't look like that. There's no way it looks like that. It must just be the angle. And I'm going through all the different angles. I'm like, it must just be the angle. And I'm like, then watching porn of like pogs. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, she must just have had a bad angle. Like, and I'm like rewriting my brain. I'm like, this is a really good butt and I love this butt. And on the inside, I'm going, you got played, son. This bitch played you. And then she fucking sends me a video and I see it, I see it more clearly. The lines under her butt, they don't even go 1/3 of the way to her leg. She has no underlines on her butt cheeks. Like there's literally nothing. She has no shelf You know, I like a girl who can balance a whole pizza on her butt while she's standing up. And, you know, or a really nice face, you know, etc. I'm not butt centric here. Okay. However you divide your points, as long as you get up to a 10, that's fine. But I mean, she fucking love spelled me, and I'm seeing it. I'm like, oh, you fucking liar. But I can't admit it yet, because by that time she already love spelled me. And I'm looking at her butt and I'm like, it must be different. It must not be what I think. It has to be different. And I couldn't see it until after we broke up. I couldn't see it. And why did we break up? Well, because, you know, finally I was like, I'm not leaving Blonde Girl and Dance Girl for you. And then she was like, well, then fuck you. You know, and then I went and left Blonde Girl for Dance Girl. And now I'm like, you know, how could anyone ever trust me again? Well, did Dance Girl put a love spell on me? Yeah, Dance Girl didn't convince me she's hotter than she is. She just cucked me to death. And, you know, she terrorized me. And I think that had something to do with it. And then, you know, Dance Girl could do anything. And apparently this is one of the things of love spells. When a girl puts a love spell on you, she can do anything to you. That if someone else did that to you, you'd be like, fuck off. You'd be like, I'm done with you right away. But when someone has a love spell on you, they can do anything, and you'll always just take them back. And so I'm not really sure what it is. Like, you know, if it was just me or if I was under a love spell. Like, you know, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry to Blonde Girl and to the fourth. Okay, I'm sorry about that. That I wasn't loyal. Okay, I understand. I'm not just gonna pass it off and just say, oh, I was under a love spell. You know, certainly that's relevant to say, but you know, I made my own choices too because I was greedy. I wanted to keep Dance Girl. I didn't want to lose Dance Girl, so I was like, I'll just sacrifice anyone. But you know, why did I sacrifice Marina then? You know, I'm not sure if I'd even seen her butt by that point. But something about how she treated me also got on my nerves. I was also like, you're not loyal at all. And she told me that she was loyal on the phone. And she said 2 times in a row, she said, karma exists. Karma is real. I was like, you're talking to yourself because you are such a flake. And you strung me along when you were with your other boyfriend, Steve. And you just fucking kept me in the dark, kept me as an insurance policy. And waiting for your relationship with him to end so that then you could be with me. And, you know, you wanted to keep me, you were like a polygamist. And you wanted me to have no options. Well, you had every other option. You're just like Din Venom's ex-pig. And at some point, it just really caught up with me. And then I was eating fruit and I was not jacking off. And that's when I was like, oh, Blonde Girl and Dance Girl, I'm not going to leave you guys for this pig. And then she got really fucking zippy. And it was her mom who convinced her to dump me. She was kind of cool with it. You know, but she kept saying, she thought Blonde Girl and Dance Girl were the same person. And do you know why she thought that? She asked multiple times. She's like, are you sure Blonde Girl and Dance Girl aren't the same person? Do you know why she asked that? Because she was worried that I liked someone else more than her. And if they're the same person, that would play to that fear. But if I liked 2 people, that would not really scare her as much, because then she'd say, oh, you just want to spread your seed as far as you can. It's not really that you're in love with someone else. But if there's a specific girl that you're doing this for, if it's just for the concept of polyamory in general, that you just want your options, then that's not as bad. But if there's someone very specific that you want, then that's really a threat to me. And so that's why she kept saying, I think Blonde Girl and Dance Girl are the same person. I was like, no, Blonde Girl is not Dance Girl. And, you know, I don't know how she could have thought that, you know, 2 different people are the same person, but she kept thinking that. And I was like, at some point it caught up to me that I had cut my balls off for her. I was like, you basically cheated on me, and then you told me you wanted me not to be polyamorous. And what's up with that? And that was when the love spell was starting to break. Because when a love spell is on, no matter what they do, you always love them. You just keep going back, no matter what. And that's when I was like, you are being unfair to me. And I would probably lose you rather than be unhappy with you. And so I was not jacking it, and I was eating fruit, and she was telling me to jack it. She was telling me to jack off because she understands. She knows. SRMBG was talking about this, that whenever he'd be about to leave, or like she would fuck him up or be mean to him or cheat on him or something, and he would be about to leave, she would go get him some really nice weed, and she'd give him some really good food, and then she'd hide the keys for the car or something, and she'd go, oh, don't worry about it, and maybe she'd even have sex with him while he's sleeping, and then he wakes up, and he's like mid-pump, he's like, yeah, I guess I'll just come. You already had some weed, I already had some, and you think differently then. And so I was not jacking it, and she could tell, and she's like, you should jack off, you should do some gooning. I was like, I don't know about this. And I'm eating fruit. I'm like eating clementines, and I'm like really high, and I'm feeling really good. And then I'm like, finally, I make a video. I'm like, blonde girl and dance girl. I'm not going to leave you two for this bitch. And, I kind of soft pedal it to Marina. I'm like, what do you think about having threesomes? And she's like, yeah, I'm down, but I have to like them. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then I go make a video. I'm like, okay, guess what? We can have threesomes, but Marina is like the number one, and you guys are like the secondaries. And then Marina sees that video, and she's like, what the fuck? She's like, what's this all about? Who is blonde girl and who is dance girl? And I'm like, oh, they're just some human traffickers. I don't even like them. And and she's like, oh, because I'm like, I'm scared now that she's going to dump me over this. And then she shows her mom that video, and her mom is like, you need to leave this guy. And she does, and she dumps me. And then I'm like, like a double disloyal coward. Then I'm like, okay, anyway, bye blonde girl. Now it's just dance girl. And, I'm just like ashamed of myself, and I don't see how I got played by Marina either. And then the fourth enters the picture. And, I'm like, again with the fourth, I'm like, yeah, just ignore her. She's just a damaged dance girl, and I, she's just a liability. But I'm like, I fucking love the fourth too. Oh my God. And I think, thank God that dance girl and I had this fight, so I could tell the fourth that I love her. I'm like, I never would have been able to do this. I'm like, thank God I can say this, because if she didn't know that, I would have felt really upset. And then blonde girl comes around, she's like, I'm going to kill you and fuck you. Like, I'm going to rape you to death. And I'm like, oh geez, it goes from you saying I'm going to rape you to you saying you're going to rape me, and fucking, so I don't think too much of blonde girl, but I think that blonde girl is, I don't know, you know, I don't really feel like she hates me. You know, even though she's saying she is, I just don't really feel like it. And then eventually now I think she loves me. And so I'm like, you know, I'm like, I haven't done anything that you would hate me. You know, that's ultimately what I think. I think whatever you're hating me for, it has to be some kind of misunderstanding. If you really knew me, you wouldn't hate me. So, so I never expect that blonde girl is going to come back at that point. But then she does. And now I'm like, oh, well, sorry, blonde girl. Sorry, the fourth, but, you know, it's just me and Dance Girl forever now. And I feel like, and by the way, it's your fault, blonde girl, because you were disloyal to me, so whatever. You know, and I'm like, oh, God, you shouldn't put this on her. You know, because you really do. You are really thankful that she's here. You are really happy about it. And so you're being a total hypocrite. You know, you basically got a love spell on you. Dance Girl put a love spell on you. And Dance Girl used some advanced moves. Okay, Dance Girl didn't do it the way a typical girl does it. A typical girl, she photoshops her pictures, and she basically does something to that effect. She does her makeup really special or something. I don't know, but you know, she wears certain clothes that hide her figure. You know, Dance Girl doesn't wear makeup as far as I know, and she doesn't seem like the type. I've never seen her wear makeup as far as I know. And she wears clothes that reveal her body, so you know what you're getting. And so I'm like, well, how is she love spelling me? She's not lying. But then I'm like, oh yeah, she's fucking, you know, threatening to kill you. And she's telling you that she's going to be the only one in your life except for people who she chooses. And, you know, you've felt, and she cucks you, you know, she fucking cucks you. So therefore and SRMBG was talking about this, how he was like really into licking his girlfriend's butthole. And he's like, I never did that with anyone, but this girl, I just had to do it. He's like, I was like feverishly obsessed with her. And it just came over me somehow. Like, it was like unlike with anyone else. And I think that leans into the whole femdom thing. Like, what's the deal? You know? Somehow the power becomes an aphrodisiac. That someone has tremendous power over you. It's like they strip your validation. They make you feel like you're nothing. And they say, do you want to get your power back? Well, now you can have me. And you say, really? You? I thought you walk on water. They go, yeah, I'm down on earth now. I came down from heaven. Now you can have me. What do you think? And you go, oh my God, you're larger than life. You're Jesus Christ. You're the supreme leader. You're Kim Jong-un. And, you know, they generate the celebrity effect through that. And then I was singing Roll Call by The Neighborhood. You know, slip on ice. If you trip, you know, I don't remember what it was, but at the very end he goes, yeah, I should be there with you. I'm sorry I forgot. And I thought of Blonde Girl. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry I forgot. I don't know if you guys can ever trust me again. But I feel like it's not about making mistakes. Like, what makes you trust someone is not that they're really sorry and they go, oh, I'm really sorry. It's that there's actually an attitude shift, or like an understanding shift. Like, I understand that polyamory is better. Like, I understand it now. So that's the thing. That's the guarantee. It's not that I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry and I'll never do it again. It's that I understand it's better this way. That it's like a more mature way of living. It's a more human way of living. And it's what I want the most, too. It's what I always wanted. I always wanted to have, like, a full house. And in some sense, we already have it, like, in a weird way. Like, we're already kind of a family. And the thing that makes me know that I'm better now is when I think of down. That's cool. It doesn't even get under my skin. I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm like, but she's allowed to go have sex with other guys, and I'm just here all alone. And I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with me. She might have more money than me too. It doesn't have anything to do with me. So I just hope that my pigs belong to me. I'm trying to be like the hottest guy I can, even though I'm not perfect. You know, I fucking eat too much queso. I'm a little bit overweight. You know, I try to be like the best boyfriend I can, and I fucking love my pigs. It makes me really happy. I feel really cool. Like I feel really proud. Like really happy, you know? More than just bragging, more than just saying, "Oh, I'm really cool." And you know, I do have those moments where I go, "You know, you got like really fucking awesome pigs." And you like my dream, like if I were to brag, if I wouldn't brag, but if I were to brag, the way I would brag is I would bring my pigs to my family Christmas party. And I would say, "Look at this. What do you think?" That would be the ultimate power trip for me. But the favorite thing is to just have these pigs in my life. You know, just to know them, to know that they like me. It's really, it's, you know, it's really the best part. It goes beyond an ego trip. And to think that I have Dance Girl too, to think that Dance Girl won't dump me over this. You know, I imagined us having like an intervention. We're like, okay, Dance Girl doesn't know how to share, and we got to teach her that sharing is caring. And she's like, you know, we have to put her in a padded cell, and she's just, you know, getting nunchucks out and trying to hit everyone. And we're like, Dance Girl, you have to share. Okay, we're gonna put Dance Girl in a fucking straitjacket, and we're gonna tell her that it's fucking sharing time, and she's gonna freak out and she's gonna threaten to kill us. And then we're gonna take the straitjacket off. We're going to give her the loaded gun, and we're going to say, Dance Girl, you can kill us, but we're going to ask you, don't do it, okay? And then she's like, okay, cool. Okay, that's my dream. That's like my caricature movie about this. And, oh yeah, I was looking for a battery or something. I have to do these dishes. You know, it's almost time. I hope I plugged that in. Oh yeah, I got a battery in there. Yeah, I might make a pizza soon. I'm sorry if that's condescending to Dance Girl, okay? I don't mean to be condescending. But I wonder how many people love me. I wonder how many women love me. and they would be with me if they could, but they wouldn't because they have a husband. And, you know, like Joanne, for example. And whereas I would say, you know, I love you and your husband, and I wouldn't try to take you from him. Like it wouldn't, you know, I wonder about if there are women who are like, you know what, I would if I could, but I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be out of, I depend on this person for things, and they're going to take away the rewards of being with them if I do that. But otherwise I would, so I got to keep secret about that. I wonder how many people are in that position. And you know, there's people in my family in that position, and I'd like to be like, check out Din Venom's pigs. I beat you, after all. I was the black sheep of the family. No one puts my picture up on the fridge. Well, check out my pigs. I beat you in the only way that matters. You know, that's shallow, okay? But part of me thinks that. Part of me goes, yep, perfect. Perfect. I'm high as a kite thinking about that. Anyway, I'm going to make some pizza soon. I might make another live stream in like 20 minutes while I do the dishes.